Samaria, once a thriving capital, now found itself under relentless siege. The city was completely surrounded by Ben-Hadad's powerful Aramean army, their tents and weapons forming an unbreakable ring. No one could enter or leave, the gates were sealed, and hope seemed to vanish with every passing day. Inside the walls, desperation grew. The city's people faced starvation. Food was so scarce that a donkey's head, normally worthless, sold for 80 shekels of silver, a fortune. The city was on the edge, physically exhausted, morally broken and spiritually lost. The people's suffering was a direct result of turning away from God. But in their pain, few recognized the true cause of their plight. The stage was set for a miracle, yet hope seemed impossible buried beneath fear and despair. Samaria's darkest hour had arrived, and only the impossible could save them now. Elisha, calm and resolute, faced the king's anger. As the king arrived, Elisha delivered a shocking prophecy. By this time tomorrow, flour and barley will be sold cheaply at Samaria's gate. The king's officials scoffed, doubting even God could change their fate so quickly. Elisha warned him, "You'll see it with your own eyes, but you won't eat any of it." The promise seemed impossible, abundance in a day, with the enemy still outside. Yet Elisha's words hung in the air, challenging despair with hope. The city waited, caught between disbelief and desperate longing. Would God really deliver them overnight? 4 lepers, shunned and starving outside the city gates, faced a grim reality. Isolated from their families and friends, they were left to survive on scraps, watching the city of Samaria suffer under siege. Hunger gnawed at them, and hope seemed lost. With nothing left to lose, the 4 men made a desperate decision. They would risk everything by approaching the Aramean camp. If the enemy spared them, they might live. If not, their suffering would finally end. It was a gamble born of utter desperation. As dusk settled over the land, the lepers crept silently into the enemy camp, hearts pounding, expecting to meet their end at any moment. Every step was a leap of faith into the unknown. But to their astonishment, the camp was deserted. Tents stood empty, food and treasure left behind as if the soldiers had vanished into thin air. The silence was eerie, broken only by the crackle of abandoned fires. Unknown to the lepers, God had caused the Aramean army to hear the thunder of a phantom army. Terrified, the soldiers fled in the night, leaving everything behind in their panic. Overwhelmed, the lepers feasted on food they hadn't tasted in days. They gathered silver and gold, hiding their newfound riches, scarcely believing their fortune had changed so suddenly. But as they enjoyed their bounty, conscience stirred within them. This is a day of good news, they realized. We cannot keep this to ourselves. We must tell the city and share what we have found. Without delay, they hurried back through the dawn, determined to bring hope to those who had abandoned them. The salvation of Samaria began with 4 desperate outcasts whose courage and honesty sparked a miracle no one could have imagined. Hope was about to break through the city's despair, shining brighter than anyone dared to dream. The astonishing news brought by the lepers quickly reached the city's gates, spreading like wildfire among the desperate people. Yet the king, wary and cautious after so much suffering, suspected it was all a cunning trap set by the Arameans to lure the starving citizens out of safety. To uncover the truth, he sent a scouting party to investigate. The scouts crept cautiously toward the enemy camp, only to find it eerily deserted. Tents abandoned, supplies left behind, and not a single Aramean in sight. The enemy had vanished overnight. Word spread instantly. The starving people, driven by hope and hunger, surged out of the city gates, racing to the abandoned camp. There they found food, treasures, and supplies beyond their wildest dreams. That very night, Elisha's prophecy was fulfilled. Flour and barley, once impossibly scarce, were now sold in abundance for just a fraction of their former price. The city's markets overflowed with grain and hope. The nightmare of famine and fear was swept away in a flood of abundance. Joy and relief filled the streets as families celebrated their deliverance. But in the chaos, the king's official, who had doubted Elisha's words, was trampled at the city gate and died, just as the prophet had foretold. His disbelief cost him dearly. Deliverance had come without a single battle being fought. The impossible had truly happened before their eyes. In a single day, God's power transformed despair into overflowing joy. Families reunited, neighbors embraced, and hope was restored. The people of Samaria learned that even in the darkest hour, hope can arrive unexpectedly. Their salvation was complete, and gratitude filled the city as a new dawn broke. This story foreshadows the gospel. Samaria's siege mirrors humanity's bondage to sin, hopeless, starving, unable to save itself. The lepers, outcasts bearing good news, reflect how God uses the humble to proclaim salvation. The enemy was defeated not by human effort but by God's intervention. Like Samaria, we are called to receive grace, not earn it. The skeptical official's fate warns us, seeing salvation is not enough. Faith is required to partake in it. The invitation to God's feast is open, but only those who believe enter in. In our darkest hour, hope and deliverance are found in God alone. Are you ready to continue? Just click here and come along with me to the next chapter.